Judicial findings. The jurors' contentions. There's no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers, with fares totaling 20 pence. I think that's one I'm going to be able to press. He stuck the chap next to him like this. Brazen, I must say. Absolutely brazen. I have simply typed and collated all the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fair fares are our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. Wait, they're contradicting themselves already. Because she said 4 passengers, 20 pence. If it's not above 4 pence, then how the fuck did you get to 20? That scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor. Yeah, no, that's another one that we can disregard. Okay. So there's actually a couple that we can push here. I'm starting to wish I hadn't pushed for this now. Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments, though, do they? Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I'll throw everything I can at them and use some very persuasive language. Just a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. According to my book, that's not quite how it works. Oh? I thought I was going to have to thaw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. Unfortunately, once the jurors have decided the defendant's guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything defense says. But then, they've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become. Then what on earth am I supposed to do? Evidence, bitch. Oh dear, I was just citing what I've read on British law, Mr. Naruhodo. Right, I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work, then? Well, from what I can understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments. What do you mean? Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a unified front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in the courtroom today. And that's the way to break them down, you mean? Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says, and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other. I see. So it's contradictions in what 2 or more juries say that we're looking for. In a way, then, this is similar to a regular cross-examination. Oh, yes, I suppose you're right. Find contradictions in their statements and pit the jurors against one another to break them down. Alright, I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. A double slap! I have to pull this off. Can we start the proceedings, counsel? I would ask you take the stand for this. I'm expecting a clear and concise rebuttal. Yes, my lord. Oh, shit, okay. Jury examination. Defense's rebuttal. Okay. I'm going to ask you guys to give me a couple minutes break here. Just quick bio, refill my water, and set future dinner on to thaw. So give me a minute or two, and we will be right back. Alright. So I'm not quite sure how this goes, but either way, we're going to save here in case I screw this up. Though I'm pretty sure 2 and I think it's 5 I need to...
Objection!
clearly contradict each other. They do? Explain yourself, Counsel. Me? Oh dear, what have I said? I swear on Silver Blaze's maiden name, I haven't the first idea what you're talking about. Oh, this is cool. According to the group testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus the night in question, and according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares. Quite right, I have those precise details, blah blah blah. The juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence. That it is, a fair and convenient single price, just the way Londoner carriages should be operated. But that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts. Why, man, why? 4 passengers paying 4 pence each. If you do the multiplication, it would be 16 pence. Exactly. As I said, it does not add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact. Or precisely 1 person's fare. 1 person's fare? Yes. In other words, on the omnibus that night, it's distinctly possible there was another passenger we've heard nothing about. Good gracious! This can't be right. The coachmen of the guild are good, honest men, one and all. Trustworthiness is our watchword. The figures your coachman claims most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy. I beg your pardon. Don't make me come over there and throw hands. Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news will surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he let nefarious characters ride his omnibus. Alright then, how do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end, Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire into the innocent side of the set of scales. No, hold your horses there, coachman. We were all in agreement. Why do you have to go and... Wait till I get my hands on you, Beppo! Yeah, the judge's wing is great. This is all very irritating. Begging your pardon, sir, I'm going to do the same. For the love of Mike, not you as well. A penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear, after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exacting standards in financial matters. Oh, really? I, for one, think it's only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo, you did it. If we can manage to change 2 more jurors' minds, we can force the trial to continue. 2 more. Actually, there's something else that's bothering me about a couple of their assertions. Then that's where you must strike next. So I need to pit 2 more jurors against each other and show them another contradiction in their assertions. Exactly, you can do it! Well, the scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavy on the side of guilt. Assertions, huh? Hey you. Stop looking at TikTok. Whenever you say something thirsty, I'm assuming it's because you're looking at TikTok. Counsel, you have the floor again. Continue with your summation examination. 'Cause, 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 'c what the slipshod bookkeeper has to say for himself. He stuck the chap next to him, just like this. Brazen, I say. Almost brazen. Stab the man poor on the floor. The beggar's belief.
Objection.
Oh no, he dropped his knife. I was also looking at TikTok. Those two statements are completely contradictory. What? Explain, counsel. Post haste. Oh, dearie me. I was only knitting a jumper for my other half. What is all this claptrap? Meh. What does contradictory even mean, I ask? The goggles see it. We've heard from more than one witness that they allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, do you remember number 3? What, can't you see I'm busy here? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it? Huh. Want to test me, do ya? It was like this. Stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. Just like the prim banker said. Yes, that is what Mr. Fairplay's testimony. Quite true. Now then, juror number 6. Oh, is that me, is it? What can I do for you, young man? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madame? Oh, well, dear, as far as I understand it, it was like this. He stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so. Now don't move. Take a look at these two jurors. He stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. And he stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor. Well, I never. They're stabbing in totally different directions. You must have proper form when you stab someone. What? Bless my stitches. What a muddle. What this tells us is that there's a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth. Oh. But why? Why the dickens would they lie? I don't know that yet. But what I do know is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in all good conscience? Lies, you say? Oh, dearie me. I can't abide people telling lies. I will throw them all into the river. The scales. I don't believe it. Wait! Now hear this, my fellow jurors. I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. Look at him, in his black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using magic on us. If I could use magic, do you really think I'd be putting myself through this? Answer me this, Dark Jinx. What, me? What exactly is the problem? What of it if the two witnesses have slightly different recollections of events? What of it? Let's say the Shylock did stab the victim as he was sat next to him on the omnibus, and this young dandy saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor, and then the Shylock stabbed him again. And this old lady saw him do it. Well, what do you have to say it happened? Let's say it didn't happen like that, hmm? Who are you calling a dandy, sir? Why, I should have this knife to you. Who are you calling old? Why, I should take this needle to you. They are ready to kill each other now. But could the foreman of the jury be right? Did the two witnesses see two different moments of the same crime? With the autopsy. Stabbed once. It says right there in the autopsy, stabbed once. Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman. What is it, you dark jinx? Come on, out with it. What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question. What? What are you talking about, man? How can you possibly say that? You do realize that I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have responsibility to steer everyone to the right direction. So where's your evidence, man? Let's see what we want to see. I say the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime. If you say it's out of the question, show me proof. Okay. Looks like the only way I'm going to convince him is to present him with something he can't dismiss. Some irrefutable hard evidence. As you wish. What? I'll give you the proof. It's out of the question that the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime, as proven by...
Take that!
This is the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen only once. Only once? It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely one time. Which means these witnesses can't possibly have seen it happen two different times. Alright, I concede defeat. Wait, that means 4 jurors are now leaning to not guilty. We've done it, Mr. Naruhodo. We've won. Well, now we just continue the trial. What are you playing at, you dandy fool? Shut your trap, sir. No one deceives me. But we had a consensus. I said, shut your trap. I know a liar when I see one. And if the chap ever dares to cross the threshold of my shop, I'll take this razor-sharp blade and shave every last hair off his head. Please tell me he's a barber. Well, in a quite remarkable turn of events, the defense summation examination has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. The jurors now send 2 for guilty and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority among the jurors for me to adjudicate. And the trial must continue. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witnesses to return to their places. And I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth. So, Lord Van Sykes, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution, if you please. I'ma get drunk. But that was a nice glass. Having savored the rich aroma of the carmine contents of this hallowed chalice, it may seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Sykes! Is it cold in here? Suggest me. As your antiquated tome no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during a summation examination. So I honored a deathly silence and listened to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Well, no matter. There's nothing so hard to prove as a self-evident truth, it would seem. No, and why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Bring forth the witnesses once more. Witnesses, I trust you heard the summation examination we have just had to endure? Oh, yes, sir. That I did, sir. Of course I heard it. Oh, yes, sir. I heard it. You, sir, on the end, the coachman. I believe it's Beppo? Yes, sir, my lord, sir. If it transpires that in your previous testimony you were attempting to veil the presence of a 5th passenger on your omnibus, you'll be found guilty of perjury. Are you advised to bear that in mind? You're advised to bear that in mind, sir. Oh. Oi, mio dio. Oh. Zeke's trying the old razzle-dazzle. Now then, witnesses, I hereby call on you to testify before the court again. You will explain the various misgivings brought to our attention by the defense's summation examination. Various misgivings. Also, before we start, we have a knife we haven't looked at and a log we haven't looked at. So let's take a look at those. This pot is the sheath, isn't it? Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Hmm? Oh, sorry, yes. I just don't really like blades. Oh. Those don't seem like the words of a man with a large katana slung from his waist. That's not a blade. That's Kazuma's soul. Anyway, there's no sense in delaying it. Let's see what the blade looks like. Ugh, that looks like a lot of blood. It surely is blood. The victim's. Oh, an Englishman's blood looks a lot like a Japanese man's blood. Did you think it wouldn't? Sorry, it's just we've only just arrived here in Great Britain. I'm finding it a little hard to adjust. Yes, I do understand. An ordinate letter M, undeniably Mr. Magnus McGilded's initial. And it's beautifully gilded too. It must be very valuable, I should think. Ah! What is it? Look at this M. If you turn it upside down, it becomes a W. This could change everything. A W? Yes! This is one of those, you know, turnabout cases. I'm sure of it. I'm afraid I don't know at all, but I'm sure of is that this is an M. Oh, well, that idea was quickly quashed. Anything else? No? Okay. That's our blade. Catalog of people who borrowed money. This portfolio must contain all sorts of secrets of London's gentry. Oh dear, do you really think we ought to look inside? Well, it's not as though we know of any London gentry personally, is it? Apart from our great detective friend, perhaps. Actually, I wonder. I assure you, you will not find Mr. Strom's name inside. Well, let's see what we find. Gosh, it's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it? Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen at all, are they? After all, not everyone in this country is well off. Ah, goodness! What is it? Look at this. Do you see the name here? Bruce Fairplay. Should that mean something to me? It does sound strangely familiar, actually. Bruce Fairplay, the witness testifying at this very moment! Ah, yeah, of course, the banker. Why is his name here? Ah, he borrowed 20 Guinness, did he? And look, the repayment date is fast approaching. It's possible that this is just a coincidence, of course, but this could be very useful information. Details updated. Okay. Noted. I only carried 4 passengers that night. I swear it. But, well, I for one was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus. He fiddled us on the fare, he did. And then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much. I tell you, I saw McGilded stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands. Oh, yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so, yes. Counsel, make sense of this for me, please. The phantom fist passenger conjured into existence by my learned Eastern friend never existed. The confusion has arisen from the coachman's sly little covenage. Oh! Beppo, explain yourself. I'm terribly sorry, Guildmaster. The Guild's fare is 4 pence across the board. You know that. Am I to understand that you've been overcharging our passengers by a penny a fare? Old man's been grifting people. It's so cold. And the last run of the day is always half empty. You have been dishonest, coachman. I'm so sorry. You're a disgrace, Beppo. A disgrace. And your selfish actions have brought dishonor on the entire guild. If I may, sir, I had to pay 10 pence on the bus just last week. What? 4 passengers of 5 pence each is, yes, 20 pence. I've done the arithmetic 10 times already, but I just can't make the result come out differently. No, that figures. Well, it would appear that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, if you please. We've already had the pleasure of a protracted summation examination today. I see you intend to continue the parlor games. Absolutely. I love parlor games. I only carried 4 passengers that night, I swear. So, there are only 4 passengers on your carriage, but you didn't charge them the standard 4 pence fare. Is that right? It's impossible to make the last run of the day, but pay. I was so cold, it was all I could do to stop myself from passing out. I'm getting, what the frig? Chilblains? Chilblains. Wow, I am not familiar with that word whatsoever. Chilblains? Wait, hold on. I'm immediately looking this up. What does this mean? Chilblains. Okay. Sores or bumps that occur after exposure to very cold temperatures. Okay. So basically, he's just saying you got, like, just cold bumps. Okay. It was too terrible, so I wanted to give myself a pat on the back for even keeping the bus running. Doesn't a dedicated coachman deserve an extra penny passenger? You're digging a deeper hole for yourself here. If only there had been a 5th passenger on the omnibus last night, then we would have another suspect. Common vernacular. Well, I for one was told to have to pay 5 pence for the bus. He fiddled us on the fare, he did, and then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It was too much.
Hold it!
This blood-curdling sight, you mean the murder, I presume? Yes, sir. A loathsome sight. No one should have to witness the horror in the eyes of a man the moment his life is taken. Oh, well, not exactly, sir. I mean, I didn't actually see the exact moment the gent was stabbed. Good gracious, really? We have another witness who did, however. The banker has already testified to it. But Mr. First didn't actually see the point at which the victim was killed. That may turn out to be very significant. I heard the banker gent next to me take a shock and take a breath, see? That's when I looked through the glass. That's when I saw the horrible blade poking out of his belly, all covered in blood. Every time I see a knife now, I can't help screaming, even when I'm eating. Till you saw me getting stabbing, man. Everything I said before stands. So you saw the defendant, Mr. McGilded, stabbing the victim, Mr. Mason, who was sitting next to him. That's what I said, isn't it? It was bothering me before that this was. For just a brief moment, he hesitated before answering the question. Anyway, there were only the 2 of them inside the carriage, that wasn't there? There's been much talk of a 5th passenger, but as yet 0 evidence. Then what we're wasting time here for, eh? It's black and white. The man's guilty. Something about Mr. Fairplay's testimony just jars with me. I wish I could work out what it was. Oh, yes. Yes, he stabbed him, he did. I think so, yes. Hold on, we're going to go around once more. Because I missed the first time. Long ago, this very trial nearly came to an end. Somehow we've managed to keep our chances alive here. I can't waste this cross-examination. I have to use it with to bring some new facts to life. If you're not careful when you press these witnesses, the danger is that the jury will end up believing something unhelpful as they did before. Maybe, but we can't let the fear of that happening stop us from uncovering important new information. Ah. Yes, you're so right. I need to pay careful attention here. I don't want to miss even a flicker of a reaction among these witnesses. Remember, if you happen to spot one of the witnesses reacting a strange way, don't hesitate to pursue them as to the reason.
Hold it!
Does that mean everyone on board that night paid 5 pence instead of 4? Well, I paid 5 pence too, sir. And I just told you that I did. A flat fare of 5 pence across the board. It's not something to be proud of. The so-called discrepancy my learned friend identified was nothing of the sort. Much like the phantom killer you so desperately needed, it's gone, dead, and buried. I'd have been happier if we had even ever existed in the first place.
Hold it!
Earlier, you testified that you saw the moment when the defendant allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you? Oh, yes, that's right. You said that the victim was on the floor and described the assailant holding the knife in an ice pick grip. I suppose I might have, yes, put the cart before the horse, maybe. What's this? Well, I'm quite sure about most of it. I was driving the horses when I heard a scream from the seats on the roof deck. Oh, I expect that was me, sir. That's when I turned around. Yes, I saw it through the skylight. That doesn't jive. The gentleman on the floor, and the knife was sticking out from his midriff. That's right, yes. And the fellow holding the handle was the famous man, yes. So in short, you didn't see the moment when the victim was actually stabbed at all? I really thought I did, but... Well, no, the driver sits on top of the carriage, but... Here, what I'm having issues with here. So the murder was here, like at the front of the carriage. He's sitting up here in a seat. He can't look through the skylight and see, like, the back of the murder, and, like, even seeing down to the floor is a bit of a stretch. I don't know, this, and, like, he'd be looking through, like, a seat as well. Like, there's, it feels weird. Yeah. I really thought I did, but when I go over it again in my head, no, I suppose I didn't actually see the precise moment of the stabbing, did I? Whoa!
Excuse me.
Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay? Now you listen to me. I know what you're thinking. He didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that? Eh? Are you asking me or telling me? Ooh, hydration. Thank you.
I'm really feeling it. I'm really feeling it. Look at this photograph.
I might be able to extract some information from him if I answer him cleverly. Could he have just happened to see the exact moment the crime was committed? What? Wait, what is some days are like that supposed to mean? Okay, could he have just happened to see the exact moment the crime was committed? Some days are like it. Some days you just happen to see murders. Sometimes murders just sort of fall in your lap, you know, as one does. What? What do you guys think? Like, you guys want to try the second one? Well, I suppose some days are like that. Sooner or later, you'll see something you wish you hadn't. If you're always peeping through a skylight in the top of an omnibus, so... Peeping? I'm a respectable city banker. I'll have you know. And I know what I saw. And I remember clearly as a Ballarat day. It was a grim scene. It was a grim scene, and I don't mind telling you. Thank you, Mr. Fairplay. Oh, excuse me if I was getting a little hot under the collar there, my lord. It was grimy. I would ask you to supplement your testimony with a clear statement about what exactly you saw. Oh, I can do that, all right. I'll tell you just how grimy. Do you think I'd forget the sight of those blood-soaked hands after that butcher stabbed the man? The blood-soaked hands?
Hold it!
Yeah, he was wearing gloves. Blood-soaked? Well, perhaps soaked is laying it on a little thick, but anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. And you saw that from the roof, through the skylight. Well, the skylight's reasonably large, so I had a pretty good view. And there was a lamp on the inside of the carriage as well, so I'm quite sure of what I saw. Spanker's latest statement. I feel sure there's something not quite right about it. When you feel something doesn't add up, Mr. Naruhodo, that's when you should have a good look through the court record. Beep boop beep pop beep boop pop beep beep boop pop beep beep pop boop pop beep boop pop. That was great. Sometimes you're just leering at people through a skylight, waiting for them to do something because you're a lecher. Excuse you. I really like that.
Objection!
Blood-soaked hands. Well, I admit that soaked may have been laying on a little thick, but anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. Well, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay, but that's more than a little peculiar. What? Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGilded, on the night in question. Ah, yes, right. And there certainly does appear to be a sizable dark-colored stain there. But, as I'm sure you can clearly see, it's only on the right-hand glove. In short, Mr. Fairplay, your testimony is inconsistent. But no, that can't be right. So you're the liar here, then? That's right, you were quite clear about it. You said, it was both hands. Good. Mr. Fairplay, if your last statement was a lie, it calls your entire testimony into question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed, but is that really the truth?
Objection!
It was a simple mistake. You can't justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it wasn't both hands. It was only one, but the fact remains. The victim's blood was on the accused. No. Mr. Fairplay categorically stated he saw blood all over both hands, which means there's a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court. Why? I'm a city banker, for Pete's sake. My word should be the gold standard. I'm a gentleman, not sort of gutter snipe. Upstanding member of societies don't prevaricate. Wow. I don't like all these words. Oh, the beatings are the best part when they break down. Oh, breakdowns are fantastic. He's claiming to have no reason to lie, but is that really the case? Mr. Naruhodo, if we had some evidence to claim why Mr. Fairplay might be lying, we could turn the tide of this trial completely. Something to show this man had a compelling reason to lie in his testimony. My lord. Yes, counsel? The defense is ready to present evidence. By Jove, are you sure? Yes, evidence that will clearly demonstrate why Mr. Fairplay had reason to lie in his testimony. Good. Very well. I hereby call on the defense to present its evidence. The evidence that demonstrates a motive for the witness's alleged discrepancy in the court.
Take that!
This is a list of debtors who owe money to Mr. McGilded. Yes, a list of innocent victims crippled by the accused extortion. The point is, amongst the names on the debtors is your name, Mr. Bruce Fairplay. What? Mr. Fairplay, are you currently indebted financially to the accused? No, well, it's barely worth being called a debt. According to this ledger, you owe 20 guineas. Not an inconsiderable sum of money, wouldn't you say? What of it? Let's suppose Mr. McGilded were to be found guilty of murder. What would become of your debt in that case? These documents state that the loan agreement is forged between two individual parties. Therefore, were the creditor, the defendant here, to be sentenced to a capital punishment, all outstanding debts which were owed to him would be annulled. They would cease to exist. Cease to exist? Mr. Fairplay, is it not the case that you claimed in your testimony to have seen something you never in fact saw, in a devious attempt to annul your debt of 20 guineas to the defendant? And aftercare. Consent and aftercare. No, they get punched a lot. Actually, have they ever broken? Wait, hold on. I need to think about this. I don't think, like, the only time they've quote unquote broken was when a bomb went off in the court at the beginning of, I think it was 5. Yeah, at the beginning of 5. But no one's ever smashed one, like, with their fists, from what I recall. Came close in 6. I think 6 would be the closest it probably came to actually just being, like, shattered. Yeah. Some lotion, some hot tea. Yes, my lord. Let me ask you again. And be aware that your answer may have most serious implications upon your future, sir. Did you or did you not see the precise moment in which the defendant is alleged to have thrust a knife into the victim? Your silence speaks volumes. You did not tell the truth in your testimony. All right, Now let's make a melodrama out of this. Perhaps I did overstate the truth a pinch. A pinch? But it makes no difference. I definitely remember seeing blood on McGilded's hands. Both of them. And yet, only one of the defendant's gloves, which we have here in evidence, is stained. Good. So you keep saying... I wonder if I might be allowed to speak, sir. Go ahead, Mr. First. Well, the thing is, I think I remember seeing it myself, as it happens. Seeing what? The blood, sir, on the assailant's hands. I think, yes. I'm almost sure that it was on both of his hands, not just one. What? What? It would appear that we're going to need further testimony from all you witnesses. This time I would like to know precisely what you did and what you did not see. Do I make myself perfectly clear? Yes. Mr. Naruhodo, this is good news. The course of the trial seems to have shifted slightly at last. Yep. I might finally have a chance to turn things around here. What the witnesses really saw. There was blood on both hands of the assailant. I sincerely and distinctly remember that. However, I suppose you might say that I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired, if that matters. I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both the attacker's hands with blood on them. I didn't actually see anything myself. No, not until I heard that scream. Anyway, the fact remains. There can't have been anyone else in the carriage. Or we all would have seen. Bum 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 bum. Oh, poor Edgy. Well, lo and behold, in truth of fact, not one of you was witness to the crucial moment the crime was perpetrated. Oof. Okay. I apologize, my lord, but honestly, there's no one else inside the carriage, and the man's hands were covered in blood. That much incriminating evidence is tantamount to saying we saw the man do it. That's not really what testimony is about. Let's examine the interior of the omnibus once more. The victim's fresh blood is clearly visible on the seat, corroborating the witnesses' accounts. In other words, there's no substantial nor significant change in the facts of the case. Very well. Your cross-examination, please, counsel. Yes, my lord. What the witnesses really saw. There was blood on both hands of the assailant. I sincerely, distinctly remember that. No, the evidence tells us otherwise. We have the gloves the defendant was wearing on the night in question in the court record. I'm well aware of that, sir, but nevertheless, I know what I saw and I stand by it. The man had blood on both his hands. He's defiant even in the face of hard evidence. He's steadfastly refusing to admit that he might be mistaken about what he saw. But why? Your reasoning is dire. One hand or two, the salient point remains unchanged. Whether it's one hand or two, you'll still be choked out, you bitch. Mittens after the grim crime, the victim's blood dripped guiltily from the accused's fingers. How does one drip guiltily? That's not a verb or adjective I'm familiar with when it comes to dripping of fluids. Look at that lemonade dripping guiltily from the pitcher. However, I suppose I might say I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired, if that matters. Don't try to downplay this. Whether or not you saw the exact moment of the crime is a matter of fundamental importance, as well you know. But for crying out loud, we all know no one else could have possibly done it. I was just trying to save us some time. You have a loan of 20 Guinness outstanding with the defendant, do you not? Had you hoped to release yourself from that financial burden by ensuring the defendant was found guilty? Well, that's not entirely not what I was hoping for. I just lost a little Guinness or 10 when I backed the wrong horse in the Derby, that's all. I was going to win it all back. There's a fixture this week. Oh, Jesus. This poor bloke. Just buy lottery tickets like I do. Then you'll just lose $2 a week and occasionally make back $2. I will note I made a special trip when I was up in the weekend and bought like 4 different lottery tickets, all using my dad's numbers, just because me and Mom, we never let him forget the fact that there was one time, because he played Megabucks regularly, and there was one time he was off by one number. Mom would never let him forget that. So it just became a thing. Ha! A little guinea or 10. I'm a banker. No one bats an eye if I borrow a little spending money for the weekend. I think you may have revealed rather more about your character than you bargained for, sir. This witness's scruples are not on trial here. Proceed to the next witness. Is that really how it's supposed to work? I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both the attacker's hands with blood on them.
Hold it!
You definitely saw that too? Blood on both hands. Yes, sir. I mean, I know what you're going to say. Only one of Mr. McGilda's gloves have any signs of blood on it. That's right. The thing is, as far as I remember, sir, when I looked down and saw Mr. McGilda sitting beside the other fellow, I don't believe he was wearing any gloves, sir. He wasn't wearing these gloves? That's correct, sir. And now the blood on both his bare hands, and I saw blood on both his bare hands quite clearly. It's true that the dark-colored stain on the dark leather gloves wouldn't be easy to see. I should point out that the police officer who apprehended the accused on the night in question reported that there were no traces of blood on Mr. McGilda's gloved hands. There wasn't blood on his hands? This is puzzling indeed. This must be significant somehow, I'm sure of it. I didn't see anything. I didn't actually see anything myself, no. Not until I heard that scream.
Hold it!
You didn't see anything? Oh, yes, sir. That is to say, no, sir, I didn't. Very sorry about that. What I said before, sir. Very sorry, yes. It was wrong of me to make up stories and to say I saw stabbed a man. Let me dab for you, bitches. See? My grandson taught me this. Wouldn't you agree, sir? I know what you're insinuating, and I certainly wasn't making up stories. Still, to say you saw nothing isn't right either, is it? No, sir. I saw nothing at all. Mr. Beppo, you were driving your horses. At the very least, you must have enjoyed a good view of London streets, no? Oh, please, you didn't even see that. It was so cold that night, you see. It was all I could do to keep from passing out, sir. I didn't see where I'm driving. I'm a good driver, see? Yes, my head was fairly frozen and solid. Sorry to say, sir. It would seem prudent to avoid travelling on the last omnibus service of London's cold winter nights. Beppo! Ah! Anyway, the fact remains. There can't have been anyone else inside that carriage, or we would all see.
Hold it!
And everything you saw of the incident was through the skylight on the roof of the omnibus? That's right. It was fiercely cold that night, but the glass wasn't frosted over. Ah, yes, I remember I was shivering. It was so bitter. Which rather begs the question of why the pair of you were sitting on the roof deck in the first place. Well, I don't know about this young fellow, but I couldn't enter the cabin. Oh? Why not? It was locked from the inside. I tried knocking, but no one opened the door. It was locked? That's right, and it's public bus service, for pity's sake. That's not what I call fair play. Yes, I had exactly the same experience. I tried knocking, but the gent inside just gestured at me to clear off. So I had no choice but to climb up to the roof deck and look down longingly into the warm cabin below. Well, I can assure you it wasn't just looking down. I was glaring, long and hard. And that's precisely why I can tell you with absolute confidence that if there was anyone else in that cabin, I would have noticed. Unequivocal, I would say. I'm not sure about these two witnesses. Could they really have seen everything inside the cabin through the skylight? Allow me to confirm one thing, Mr. Fairplay. You are riding this omnibus and witnessed the events in the cabin through the skylight on the floor of the upper deck. Is that right? That's right, yes. In that case, there is a portion of the cabin interior that would have been out of sight from you. What? By golly, really? Obviously, at this stage, we can't say for sure. But the possibility cannot be denied that at the time of the incident, there could have been another passenger in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus.
Objection!
Enough hypothetical meandering, my Nipponese friend. The prosecution demands that you substantiate your claims. After all, the scene of the crime is here, in the flesh. Very well, I will uphold the prosecution's demand. You will identify the area in this cross-sectional plan of the omnibus. Where exactly in the omnibus are you suggesting that the potential extra passenger could have been situated? Alright, so I'm just going to quickly double check where in the cabin the extra door is. So here's the cross-section of it, right? He's sitting back there, crime scene is back there, and okay, there's a latch. So it is this back part here.
Take that!
Both rows of seats on the roof face in the direction of travel, whereas the seats in the enclosed cabin face each other, which means the visible part of the cabin, which passengers on the roof deck can see through the skylight, is as I've drawn here. That's right, my lord. As you can see, the seat opposite the one on which the victim and his attacker were sitting is obscured from view. In other words, if someone had been sitting on that seat, it's quite possible that these witnesses could have been completely unaware of it.
Objection!
It's quite possible some phantom was sitting there. You Nipponese have a forbidding habit of obscuring the truth with ambiguity. I concur with the prosecution's prosecution's rejoinder. In a British court of law, evidence is paramount. I cannot entertain this conjecture, counsel. That is, unless you're able to put a name to this mysterious passenger to whom you allude. Can you, Mr. Naruhodo? I honestly don't know. Who could it have been? Who could have been in the other seat, which was out of sight from witnesses on the roof deck? Oh, shit. No, fuck. I didn't realize I was going to get an option. Is there a name that I don't know or am I forgetting? Lady first. Bruce Fairplay. Beppo. Irv Bailey. Oh wait, it wants me to say who is in the opposing seat, right? So I'm assuming then it would be Magnus. Because people keep saying that they saw him just turn and stab him, right? The defense would like to put forward a name. You are a fool. That response was a desperate attempt by a man who has no notion of his own limitations. A toast to hard lessons not yet learnt. Let us not delay, counsel. The defense is still to name the passenger in the other seat. This could be it. This could be the chance I've been waiting to turn the trial in my favor. On that night, on the night of the murder, the person occupying the seat in the Autopsy cabin that was obscured from view was... This is the only person I can think of.
Take that!
The passenger in the enclosed cabin that the witnesses in the roof deck failed to see has to have been Mr. Magnus McGilded. Mick. Mr. McGilded? What are you talking about, counsel? That's the name of the defendant. Wait, did I accidentally oops into the right one or not? Oh. If I desecrate this chamber by smashing my hallowed chalice, do forgive the discourtesy. No, stop breaking shit! Lord Van Sykes. People talk of those tiny island nations in the Far East as having a learning and culture of their own. But I see they use the terms ill-advisedly. What are you trying to say? Let me explain in terms that even a student of an artless backwater such as yourself might understand. When the bloody scene unfolded, the victim and his assailant were sitting side by side. Multiple witnesses have attested to the fact. It is the very premise on which this case is built.
Objection!
But that premise may be wrong. What? If the victim really was sitting beside Mr. McGilded, it creates an inconsistency that can't be reconciled in any way. What inconsistency, counsel? The defendant's gloves, my lord. Both witnesses made the same testimony. They claimed there was blood on both hands of the person sitting next to the victim.
Objection!
Yet we know the truth to be otherwise. Only one glove bears the gory remains.
Objection!
The point is, even in the face of this irrefutable evidence, both witnesses have maintained their stance. Yes, their testimony remains unchanged. Exactly. They both adamantly swear that they clearly remember seeing blood on both hands of the assailant. In short, their memory of the events is correct, and their testimony reveals the truth. It was somebody else sitting next to the victim that night, a third party we have yet to identify. And the victim's blood was on the passenger's hands, both of them.
Objection!
And who was this third party? Obviously, the true culprit. Extraordinary! Order! 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 What exactly are you postulating? Postulating. Well,
The defense's postulation is just that, nothing more than conjecture. The witnesses have clearly stated that they saw the accused.
but when elaborating on his testimony, Mr. Fairplay said the two of them were wearing hats, and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. Yes. The tops of their heads were obscured by the roof. I could see the rest of them, though.
Yes, that's right. Both gents were most certainly hatted. Hatters do tend to notice such things, sir.
And what particular styles of hat did the two gentlemen wear? Sport, Mr. First.
I'm afraid I don't remember.
And you call yourself a hatter?
The style of hat makes no difference. There was no third passenger in that cabin.
How can you be so sure?
Because if there had been, the accused, Mr. McGilded, would undoubtedly have offered to dispose the fact. Unless, that is, you are proposing that even more preposterous
Wow. Blech. Let me try that again.
Unless, that is, you are proposing an even more preposterous explanation? That the accused failed even to notice the presence of the true culprit in the very cabin which he traveled?
He's right. If there's another person traveling in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus, it's inconceivable that Mr. McGilded would have been unaware of it. Order! There's clearly a simple solution to this problem.
Bring the accused, Mr. McGilded, to the stand.
Well, what say you, counsel?
The prosecution objects, my lord.
On what grounds?
As I suspect, he will have already made a full statement to the police.
But what if there's some reason why he's unable to speak freely?
Magnus McGilded is no uneducated ruffian. If it indeed turns out the man has been withholding information, you can be sure it will have been a most deliberate act.
Counsel for the defense, what is your opinion?
My lord? Should we ask Mr. McGilded to testify or not? Ooh,
I can see this going either way. Like, I really, really can. I feel like it has to go on, though. I think we have to force a testimony. Stress. Okay. Might tell the truth, make me look bad, duh. Oh, the hand raising. The defense would like to call Mr. McGilded to the stand. In that case, I would like to hear the opinion of the jury. I need a little more time to consider this.
if you ask me, I think we should hear what Mr. McGilded has to say.
Get the man out here, I say.
It would be utterly illogical not to hear his testimony.
When something needs doing, get it done. That's how I run things at the guild.
Hearing what the patron of my favorite little park has to say? Oh yes, that would be quite lovely.
Yes, the jury's seat says the man must be heard.
So usually if you make the wrong choice, it's just a penalty. I don't like getting penalties, though. They stack up after a while. There are very, very, very rare instances where they could, like, end trials or be considerably, like, you know, just end. They usually really par those up being, like, big. Like, you know, understand, like, you know, if you do this, like, you're done. You're out. Everything's done. You're dead. Game over. But, like, I like to try and be as perfect as I can.
Bailiff, show the defendant to the stand at once. Now, maybe what actually happened that night will finally become clear. Let proceedings be resumed. Ooh! Ooh, and hydrate, thank you.
I'm really feeling it. I'm really feeling it. Take that.
Alright. Thank you and hello, case. Mr. McGilded, have you been listening to the discourse of the day? And I'm sorry, I'm not going to go as deep into his voice. It, like, destroyed in, like, 10 minutes. To be sure I have, my lord. There are now 2 matters of which the court desires to hear from you. The first is whether or not there was a third party with you in the omnibus cabin, as proposed by the defense. The second is that if such a person was indeed present, why did you conceal that fact from the police? I'm doing pretty good. My voice hurts, but otherwise, like, that's what I expect playing this game. Begad, no. 'Tis not my nature to hide anything from you. Just answer the questions, please. The truth of the matter is, I've been desperate about this all along. Do I tell yous all, or keep my mouth shut? Tell us what, Mr. McGilded? The fine fellow representing me is absolutely right. In the carriage on the night, with myself and the other man, there was another passenger. It's true? Aye, and 'twas me who helped the little urchin get away after all had happened. You... what? No. No, Magnus McGilded. That convenient excuse can't save you now. I'm truly sorry. So I am, Lord Von Sykes. I'm sure you'd be wanting to know why I said nothing when I was taken in by the police. I do be having a very good reason, I assure you. Which was? Well, the little child was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and not in any way involved, you see. What? If the police had known the wee one was there, they'd have assured she'd done it. They'd have hauled her to the Seer courtroom, just like myself. I was only trying to spare that. Young hearts and young minds are easily damaged, my lord. And who is this young child of whom you speak? Dat, I don't know. You don't know? Aye, well, the wee thing just happened to be in the carriage that night. I never saw her before or since. We have absolutely no reason to believe this man. The prosecution calls for the witness's statements to be disregarded by the court. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the urchin isn't here in this courtroom as we speak, listening to the proceedings. What? What? What is going on? Be careful, Miss Naruto. Cover your face. Bailiff, don't let the accused escape. Secure the omnibus. I hereby call an emergency recess. Bailiff, ensure the defendant is in custody and clear the courtroom. We were hurriedly removed from the smoke-filled courtroom by the bailiff, amid scenes of chaos as people stumbled over one another in their desperation to flee the chamber. We had no idea what was happening. All we knew was that, for the time being at least, the trial was suspended. Oh, that's good. That's good.